Thanks, Catherine, and the panelists for that discussion. Now it's a pleasure to introduce Mr. Prakash Sangam, founder and principal of Tantra Analyst, to talk to us about upcoming 3GPP releases.
Hey, Sean, thanks for the introduction. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Thanks for joining us today. In next 10 minutes or so, I'll give a brief update on what's happening on the standards side to help this huge upsurge that we are expecting to see in 5G, industrial IoT, and specifically in manufacturing, and talk about some of the few things that standards has been working on to help the manufacturing sector in particular, and look at 16, 17, and 18. So with that, I'm sure you've seen this picture a million times. The reason I'm showing is most of the things that are currently commercial or happening are on the eMBB side of the 5G. Massive IoT and URLLC are in the works. They've been in the works for some time, but those are the two things which will lift 5G as a premier technology for industrial IoT and manufacturing in particular to a new level. So, and we'll look at some of the things that are part of them in next few minutes. So in terms of opportunity itself, I'm sure everybody has their favorite number, many forecasts out there. One key thing is that all these forecasts are huge and in multiple $1 trillion. The one I have here on the screen is from KPMG that shows by 2026, 5G will create or unlock more than $5 trillion of value from verticals. And as you can see at the left-hand side, a big chunk of that, more than 600 billion, is from manufacturing. And many of the other industries are allied to manufacturing and help in manufacturing, but the manufacturing itself, and a KPMG says, will generate more than $600 billion in terms of opportunity with 5G. And then we look at IHS Market, they are forecasting till 2035, more than 13 trillion. They say that almost every industry will be touched by 5G in some form or shape at some point of time. And in terms of specifically manufacturing, out of this 13 trillion, they are saying more than 4, in fact, close to 5 trillion is from smart manufacturing, as you can see at the bottom right corner there on the slide. Of course, there are many other industries that will be helped by 5G, and manufacturing will of the key ones, and all of the standards are gearing towards that. So on the standards evolution, as we all know, release 15 of 3GPP introduced 5G NR specifically as well. And although it came up with quite a list of features looking at IoT, manufacturing, and so on, but the initial focus was on making sure enhanced mobile broadband works and works best. And with release 16, the same focus as I've shown here continues, making sure it is robust, and also the platform being set for the future of 5G, if you will. That's from release 16 point of view. And release 16 was commercialized mid 2020 in June of last year. So when you look at release 17, release 17 was basically starting to deliver on the 5G vision is the key. And primary focus was on enabling industrial verticals, manufacturing being one of the main industrial vertical that 5G is looking at. And there are a bunch of features and benefits for release 17 which enable robust of industrial IoT and manufacturing sector. We look at some of the specifics there. And then release 17 is what I call future of 5G. 3GPP is calling the evolution from release 18 and onwards as 5G advanced, making sure the importance is highlighted there in the marketing and naming as well. And the focus of 5G advanced, starting with release 18, is obviously improving the performance of all the things that are introduced before in 15, 16, and 17, but also looking at some of the futuristic topics, right? So we'll look at some of those as well. Some specifics on release 17 and 18 timelines. Release 17 really actually is what I call COVID release, right? Most of, if not all of release 17 was done under COVID, and 3GPP, scrambled quite a lot to, make sure that all the meetings are online and are productive. And there was some slippage in terms of timeline. For finalizing, it was supposed to be completed by this year, early this year, but it will go on to till mid of 2022. Q2, Q3 of 2022 is when the standard will be finalized, and ASN.1 release is in Q3 of 22. That is the point where OEMs can start, designing and making their products, with the standard. And release 18 started kind of the initial kickoff meeting at 3GPP happened last month, actually in September of this year, which came up with the initial concept for release 18 and is expected to be commercialized somewhere in 2024. You might think this is a quite long time, starting in 2021 and finalizing the standard itself in 24, and commercialization maybe 1 year after that. That is very typical of any standard. It takes quite a lot to come up with concepts, to do proof of concept, and ultimately develop specification and standardize them, right? So that's kind of very typical. It's not delayed or anything. Release 17, in fact, was a little bit delayed because of COVID, as I said. So specifically, what is 5G looking at? You will see these things will permeate across the releases, be it 17, 16, or 18. One is the reliability, extreme reliability of networks, extreme scalability of networks, which both were not possible with 4G, especially for industrial IoT and manufacturing kind of use cases. And then capabilities that were not possible with 5G, with cellular before, like industrial Ethernet. And some of the features mentioned here and some details. I'll not go through all of them, but you'll see that this standalone URLLC, TSN, intelligent edge, positioning, these are kind of high level themes which will be introduced in some release or the other, and they'll be continually enhanced in the future releases. So you'll see them very often in each and every release, right? So specifically on release 17 and 18, if you look at the left hand side, release 17, there are some new interesting concepts like supporting extended reality, and then reduced capability features, which are basically coming up with a cost effective 5G model which doesn't support all the multi-gigabit speeds, but still have features that are critical to industrial IoT and manufacturing is one. Non-terrestrial network is basically satellite-based IoT for rural areas where it is very hard to get a terrestrial network. And then enhancements to the release 15 and 16 features, quite a lot of them. I'm sure you've heard some of them. And then moving on to release 18, wherein you're looking at new concept. As I said, there are some futuristic topics. One interesting is AI and ML. The whole deal here is, rather than having a static protocol between between network and the devices, the AI and ML algorithms in the network and the device talk together and come to an agreement on a protocol that is best suited for the use case or the application they're working on. So it's not static as it is right now. That's one of the major and key things that I see, that release 18 and beyond will work on. And of course, there is full duplex operation. We either have FDD and TDD in today's network. You'll start having duplex operation in release 18 and beyond. That has two reasons. One, obviously low latency that is needed for industrial applications can only be done when you use duplex operation and within the same spectrum, if you will. And also when you have full duplex, you have almost twice the capacity as well that is needed in these networks. And third is reduce energy consumption. It has been 3GPP has been working on this aspect for some time, but it is one of the major focuses in release 18 and beyond, to reduce the power consumption and energy consumption both in networks as well as devices. And of course, there's a whole slew of enhancements to all the features introduced in 15, 16, and 17. I actually have a online article series on 17 and 18 evolution on RCR. You can check it out for more details. Just to summarize, 16 was basically enforcing even more EBB and making it more robust. 17, starts addressing the industrial verticals. 18, basically, looking at futuristic topics. Right. So my last slide on how to connect with us. Basically, the article series that I mentioned, which goes into a lot more detail on each of these each of these releases and so on. You can write it on my site or on RCR website as well. There is a podcast. They have actually done a couple of podcasts interviewing with the 3GPP folks on the 17 and 18 that you can check out, and many other things, on the links given here. I think that's end of my time. Back to you, Sean.
All right. Thanks so much for that overview, Prakash. Release 17 is the COVID release. Let's see if it sticks, but I like it. And we appreciate your presentation and your contributions to RCR. So thank you, Prakash.
Absolutely. My pleasure.